यैषस्सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यकश्चन यतद्वैता 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 यतद्वैता.
Now I request CA LCS Raghunathan ma'am, RCM, to deliver welcome address.
Good morning. The Principal Commissioner ma'am, who was so gracious enough to accept our invitation, Chairman SARC, our CCM Shri Priya, our Secretary Naresh Chandragalli sir, and Sundarajan sir, the Treasurer, and my co-regional council member Geeta, and Rajesh, our CCM from Coimbatore, and all the members and students who are present here. It's actually a great pleasure to welcome you all for the Women's Day celebrations. Actually, I'm always of the opinion that we should not celebrate Women Empowerment Day. So we've made it very clear we are celebrating only the Women's Day. And why we are celebrating this, even though all of us have achieved so much in life, the moment you decide to do CA, you are an achiever, you are empowered. Why do we celebrate it? To celebrate it so that we do not forget the struggles of the women of the previous generations who have brought us to this stage in life, where we are not marginalized. We are all actually privileged that we are not marginalized. We are able to enjoy so much of freedom and so much of independence because of the hard work which was put in by all the other women before us. And on us lies the responsibility that we hand over the baton to the next generation of both men and women, where the equality is forged. There is no need to actually say we are marginalized, we don't have freedom, we are not equal. All of us are equal, and it is our responsibility to actually hand over that baton to the future generations. So that is why we are celebrating this day, to keep in memory that this is what we have to do. And also another thing what I think we all should have done and should do is wish a very happy Mother's Day to our mothers, who I would say have more than 75% of the responsibility for having brought us to this stage. Okay, if they had not supported us, we will not be here today. Our in-laws, our aunts, our sisters, everyone. But primarily, if you have not wished your mother a happy Women's Day, I would request you all to go back, call her and tell her, Amma, today I am here because of you. So with that, I welcome you all. Thank you very much, ma'am, for again accepting our invite. Thank you.
I request CA Chinnamastan Talakayala, Chairman SARC, to give special address to our chief.
Respected Chief Guest, Mrs. Geeta Ravichandran, the Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, the esteemed Central Council member and Chairperson of Women's Empowerment Committee of ICA, CA Sri P. Kumar, and Secretary of SARC, Naresh Chandragalli, and members of SARC, and who is instrumental for this initiative program, CA Revati Madam, and CAB Geeta, and my council colleague Rajesh, and other council colleagues in the regional council, and women members, and young students. Very pleasant good morning to all of you. I'm very happy to share the dais with our chief guest. Geeta Ravichandran Madam, the Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry, and the esteemed CA Sri P. Kumar, Chairperson of Women's Empower Committee, and other dignitaries on the dais. I am also very extremely happy this program held today to commemorate the International Women's Day is being attended by good number of women's members of the professions. I am given to understand our Central Council member, CA Sri P. Kumar, played a significant role when she was SARC for the first time organized a women's program in the year 2009. Madam, my special thanks to you all. You are the, I can say always, you are the benchmark for the all the women members. And today, the chairperson of the Women Empowerment Committee of ICI, she has been organizing the programs in the grand and befitting manner across the country. I have been bestowed with the pleasant opportunity to offer my hearty and warm welcome to the chief guest and to other August gathering, which I deemed and feel as a privilege. Madam, we are thankful to you for this accepting our request to be as a chief guest when SARC is celebrating the International Women's Day this morning, and the address to our members. We are grateful to you, Madam, for this gesture. Madam, your gracious presence has enlightened and value of the proceeding for this program. Members, our chief guest is the role model for the source of inspiration of young generation of women fraternity, and she had 30 years of most dignified, distinguished service in the income tax department in different parts of the country, holding the different positions. Our chief guest is now heading the department of covering the state of Tamil Nadu and the Union Territory of Pondicherry. Members, I could recall about the CA Sri Kumar, chairperson of the Women Empowerment Committee, intensive contribution between the 2013 and 16 as a SARC member, and between the 2016 and 19 as a Central Council member, conducting the intensive programs in the appropriate manner. Members, I can say that about our institute, there is from South India 45 branches, almost all 45 branches. Out of this, 10 chairperson headed by each branch. This is I can say that out of 45, 10% means it's more than 20% is the whole by the leadership of the SRC branches. And I can also express wherever that women members are one of the committee members in the branches. This committee and these branches are going very smoothly and vibrantly across the south, not only south and other parts of the country. Members, I can quote that in general, in business community, we can say that wherever that for success of the business, every business there must be behind a woman. So such a way that for success of this any activity or profession, woman must be there so that it will be always vibration and energy to all of the business and service and professions. With this brief address, again thankful for participating in this Women's Day. Thank you all.
Now, I will request CA Sri Priyana to felicitate our chief guest with a shot. Now I request CA Geeta ma'am to introduce the chief guest. Oh, yeah, sorry. Sripriya ma'am to introduce herself.
Check. Yeah. Here's a very hearty good morning to all of you. And it's been a very, very long time since we had a physical program, and hence the timing delays, and our apologies for the same and those small hiccups that you see. At the outset, on behalf of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, the Women Empowerment Committee, I'd like to extend a very, very warm and a very, very hearty welcome to Geeta Madam for having graced this occasion today. My wishes are also in order to the chairman, Chinnamastan Talakayala, Mr. Naresh Gelli, Mr. Sundararajan, Geeta, Revati, and the managing committee members of the Tambaram branch who are here today, and all the eminent chartered accountants in our midst. I have a much longer session where I'm going to actually walk you through stories on how the auditing landscape is changing today. More a matter of academic interest for all of us rather than something that's very transactional like standards on auditing. I thought I'd keep this speech brief and make precisely 4 points, which I thought might interest and excite us for the future. Number one, I think as we stand, the women in this room and the women chartered accountants are truly privileged because we've been educated and we've been through one of the toughest exams. So I think your empowerment is taken for granted. From here on, how do we move our journeys from empower to excellence is the question. How do we play larger roles? And that's precisely what I've told my committee this year. Let's forget about doing CPE programs for women. Let's look at how we can incorporate more women chartered accountants into a national course. What I find very surprising is it's as if, the entire band of women are one side like a diffused mass, and then we pick out a few women achievers. I don't think that's the real story. I think there are plenty of women who are doing well in whatever they want to do. And in that sense, I think each one of us in this room is an achiever. A happy child, an outperforming child is a sign of achievement. A great family is a sign of achievement. Living with your parents and in-laws is a sign of achievement. By the same token, some of us choose to do something else. Like, for example, we have Madam, who's the Principal Commissioner of Income Tax. So I think in that sense, all of us are achievers, and I think that's very important. A third is, as I said, how do we actually examine a larger role for women chartered accountants in nation building? And that's going to be the theme of the year. In this regard, I came across a very interesting news article where our Honorable Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, had commented. She said there's a serious dearth of independent directors. I've been trying to convince people, they've not been convinced. Show me the women. And that's exactly what we want to do this year. And are we going to just show who we have, or are we going to train them, better them, and get them prepared for boards? Again, it's a long journey. I'm not sure if I would be able to accomplish this in 6 months or a year, but I have a 3-year term, and I hope to make a very earnest attempt at this. Coincidentally, I also happen to be chairing the MCA committee, that is the Corporate Laws and the Corporate Governance Committee. So I do see a larger interaction with MCA to make it happen. So, and to summarize my 4th point, what's the Women Member Empowerment Committee going to be doing this year with all your advice, suggestions? And I actually intend getting in a lot more people aligned to this committee informally as well. We want to do leadership roles for women. How do I transform a woman into a leader, whether it's a professional leader or a leader elsewhere? 2, how can we groom people to be resource persons? Today, to find women speakers in our fraternity is becoming very difficult. How do we motivate? How do we nurture them? How do we teach them how to do presentations? That's going to be a large focus. 3, of course, as I said, independent directors. While we're talking about the supply issue, we also have a very huge demand issue. There are many, many companies in India which are yet to fill out their director positions. So it must be Mohammed going to mountain or vice versa, whatever is more applicable. We need to reach out to corporates, which we're planning to do. There's often been this question of flexi staffing. Maybe we've attempted to do it all too much internal. Now we want to work with people who make this happen. Work with people who are specialized in flexi staffing to actually transform this landscape. And the last, of course, is there's a lot of us who stopped working at some point in time. How do we mainstream those women back? So these are some of the larger objectives I seek to achieve, and I look forward to your support, your cooperation, your advice, your guidance, and most importantly, your prayers in whatever I do. Thank you very, very much.
Our dignitaries to light the lamp and followed by introducing our chief guest. Now I would request Geeta ma'am to give a short introduction about our chief guest.
Happy Women's Day to all of you. It's my proud privilege to briefly introduce our most experienced and accomplished woman who is gracing this occasion as a chief guest. It is none other than Geeta Ravichandran Madam. We promised her that we are going to relieve her bed by 10:50 because she is going to attend one more function at the Income Tax Department. So I take this occasion to briefly introduce you. Geeta Ravichandran has taken over as a Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax for Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. She is an Indian Revenue Service officer. After graduating from Stella Maris College in Chennai, she underwent training at the National Academy of Direct Taxes, Nagpur. During her 34 years of distinguished service, she served in different parts of the country, including Chennai, Mumbai, Nagpur, and Bangalore. She held key assignments in the IT department, which included assessment, search assessment, tribunal representative, tedious investigations, center charge, and international taxation. Ma'am's hobbies include reading. She's a voracious reader, writing, and listening to music. So with this very, very, very brief introduction, I'm once again welcome you to this august gathering, madam.
Our chief guest to give our inaugural address to all our members and students gathered here.
Distinguished members on the dais, distinguished members of the audience, it gives me great pleasure to be here in the midst of all of you to celebrate the International Women's Day. I think it is appropriate to start with a quote of the great poet Mahakavi Bharati. This reads, பட்டங்கள் ஆழ்வதும் சட்டங்கள் செய்வதும் பாரினில் பெண்கள் நடத்த வந்தோம் எட்டும் அறிவினால் ஆணுக்கு இங்கே பெண் இளைப்பிள்ளை கான் என்று கும்மியடி. To translate this briefly, Women are not inferior to men in any way and are now, he said this about 100 years ago, and are now in a position to occupy important posts and are also involved in making laws. Now, almost 100 years after these words have been said, we have to assess what is the reality. To some extent, this has become true, but there is a long way to go. The journey may have just started. As one of the earlier speakers said, those present here, whether they are students or full-fledged chartered accountants, are all empowered in some way. They have begun a journey of independence, of a professional career, which the large majority of women whom we see around us are not privileged to have. So the important thing which all of us here can commit ourselves to is to be part of the sisterhood, to support women and children who are not as privileged as us, to make sure they achieve independence, achieve recognition which they deserve. The theme of the International Women's Day 2022, every year there's a theme. The theme this year is gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. So we are in fact reiterating or calling to mind what Mahakavi Bharatiyar said, he believed would happen. It is only through gender equality that there can be development which will be inclusive, which will make a difference to the lives of all people around us. The World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report has said that it will take at least 170 years for women to achieve economic parity. So we know where we stand and we know the magnitude of the task ahead of us. Yesterday, when Revati and Geeta came and they were talking to me, they asked me on what particular topic I would like to speak. Now, the issues are very vast. It's humongous in nature, but I just thought I'll touch upon a few aspects of leadership, women in leadership positions. So we have, as now if you look at the Fortune 500 list, I think there are 41 women. But when we are looking at it, we have to actually introspect as to what we mean by leadership. Again, one of the speakers touched upon it. The leadership, as we see, is not a career goal. It's not that corner office. It is not about individual accomplishment or a particular pay package. It is a journey. It is a journey of towards recognition, towards utilization of the best of one's talent, and it is a journey in which you take people along. The traditional role models for women that you have to conform to what men have done before us are something we have to put aside and work at finding our own, what works best for us. Women leaders it has been recognized that women leaders are transformational. Why? Because they take the team along, they're team builders. They communicate, they empathize. It is these goals that are relevant. We don't need to be a better version of someone else. We need to be the best version of ourselves. And for that, it is self-belief. It is self-belief and our own commitment that will take us forward. Women are subject to stereotyping. Many of us may have heard this feedback that you are too soft or you are too emotional. Now, when you are too soft, let people remember that soft power, it's soft power that will ultimately, prevail. And if you're emotional, it is a way by which you can empathize. You will be motivated to empathize with your team. Women are known to be better communicators. Women have now opportunities as even in the boards of various companies, but every woman it is a very individual and a personal journey, and we have to take it forward in the way we recognize. It is for us to recognize our strengths. It is for women to support other women. It is for women to recognize that anything that is a goal set by others may not work for you. It is women have to unleash the potential within themselves. I'm very happy to state here that the CBDT, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, has at present 4 women members. We are the majority. 4 out of 7 are women members. All of these officers have started in the Indian Revenue Service. They have done whatever tasks that have been assigned to them in the best possible way. So it is not about going ahead of someone. It is going on your destined path, on your chosen path, with conviction and with belief. So when the role models for women leaders should be other women, should be women they see around them. I think one speaker mentioned this before me. If you look at who are the most transformational leaders, can I get one answer? Everyone would have encountered this. Who is the most transformational woman you have seen?
My mother.
Yes. Mothers are, in fact, our ideal role models. They harmonize so many different people. They build the team, they communicate, they keep us focused on our goals. And therefore, all of us have seen role models, not textbook models, not the models who are, talked about in the media, who are feted on a Women's Day. We all have had that experience. And it is with that conviction that we can do our best. We can be recognized for what the talent we have. We can bring it, we can contribute to the society at large in the best way possible. That is the conviction with which women have to move forward. Again, just briefly on what organizations need to do. As all of us are aware, women have very diverse responsibilities, including domestic responsibilities, taking care of children, taking care of elders. So flexi timings, which many organizations have, and one very good thing which the central government has is this childcare leave of almost up to 2 years to support children during their education. That is one very important privilege, I would say, that the central government has brought. Similarly, laws at workplace to prevent sexual harassment. So although this is widely prevalent, it's not widely talked about. But the fact that we have such laws is one thing that prevents, it has a preventive effect. Because when you have an ICC and the potential of an inquiry being conducted, it actually acts as a deterrent for sexual harassment. And that it makes the workplace a safer place for women. During the pandemic, we have found, of course, there was the great resignation wave, which many youngsters were also part of. But the actual reality is, during the pandemic, it is many women employees who stepped back, who put in their papers because they wanted to care for their families or care for, their, especially children who are doing online schooling. Even in my own department, I have found that people have put in their papers, even though they were on the edge of promotion or of progression. For them, it was not as important as being valuable, as a valuable resource person at home. So this shows that women have many priorities other than probably professional advancement alone. It is remarkable in itself, but the opportunities for professional evolution and professional advancement should be made available to all women. We have laws for equality, we have equal pay for equal work, but there's something that we need to do beyond that we all need to introspect. I don't have ready answers. Women's education, yes. Opening up opportunities to women, yes. But beyond that, retaining the workforce, making sure that there is workforce satisfaction among the women employees. These are the issues which the organizations have to think about and have to work towards doing. I would just like to conclude with a few lines of a poet whom I really love. This is Maya Angelou. She's an American poet, and she has probably summarized a woman's journey, or what a woman actually wants. She says, "My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive, and to do so with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style." So this is a very telling statement, and I think it actually speaks of the dreams of all women here, of all the women who would like to do whatever they do and bring their unique stamp into all their professional activities, into all their decision making, and the way they conduct their lives with joy and happiness. Thank you.
I request our dignitaries to give a memento as a token of gratitude from our side. I request our dignitaries to give a small token of memento from our side. Thank you so much.
Please, I just wanted to share one thing which we missed when we shared Madam's profile. Madam is also a trekker. She goes on all the Himalayan treks, and she's also a prolific writer. Man, it would have been nice if you could have quoted something from your own poems. Yeah, yes, please, we'll wait. Yeah, thank you. And a very warm welcome to all the MC members and members from the Chengalpattu branch. We're very happy to host you today. Thank you.
Now request our secretary, C. N. Nareshchandra Reddy, sir, to give a vote of thanks.
Srimati Geeta Ravichandran, Principal Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. Sri Palanivel Rajan, CIT, Administration and TPS. Sri Priya Kumar, our lone Central Council member from South to the Central Council at New Delhi. Chairman of SARC, C. H. Santal Tyler, officers of Income Tax, my colleagues in the Regional Council, women members and students. Good morning to each one of you. On behalf of SARC of ICI, I thank Srimati Geeta Ravichandran for accepting to be the chief guest and addressing the members and students on this International Women's Day with her observations and views. Madam, I just would like to take a few seconds. I would like to inform you that we have more than 25% of our membership are women and more than 35% of our students are women. So just for your information, I would also like to thank the role played by our 3 regional council members, CA Revati Raghunathan, CA Geeta and CA Rekha for organizing this program and ensuring that we have good gathering in this. I'd like to conclude with this wonderful quote, which a woman plays in lives of every person. A woman can be a wonderful wife, an outstanding friend, a marvelous daughter, an adorable sister, and nurturing mother. Thank you very much for being here for this inaugural session. I request all the members to stay back for the next session. Thank you very much.
I would request students and our members to have a tea break, and next we'll have a CPD announcement. Thank you so much. And I cannot be. Tea break.
அந்த மெயில ஆக்சஸ் கரெக்ட் அது ஓபன் பண்ணா அதுல வந்து இப்ப எனக்கு வந்து ஃபார்வர்ட் பண்ணுங்க அந்த கண்டென்ட் அதே அவங்க அத ஆட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க ஆட் பண்ணாரு ஆல்ரெடி ஆல்மோஸ்ட் சேமா தான் இருக்கும் கொஞ்சம் நேரம் மாறி இருக்கு அது அக்கௌண்ட் நம்பர்ல இன்க்ளூட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க பிரதீப் கிட்ட ஒரு மெயில் வந்துச்சுல அது கொஞ்சம் மேட்ச் பண்ணிருக்காங்க பிரதீப் மேட்ச் பண்ணி எனக்கு சொல்றீங்க சரி ஒரு வேலை தான் அதுல இருக்கிறது இதையும் வந்து அக்கௌண்ட் நம்பர் ஆட் பண்ணிருக்காங்க பாபாவோட அக்கௌண்ட் நம்பர் கம்பேர் பண்ணிருக்காங்க சரி ஓகே அடுத்து வந்து சரி ஒரு டிசைட் பண்ணுங்க
ஆனா போயிடுவாங்க 15 minutes every tea break தான் அப்புறம் அங்க எடுத்து ஸ்ட்ரீட்ல மேடம்
இது பண்ணி விட்டுரு அவ்வளவுதான் அந்த இதுக்கு பென்ட்ரைவ் இதான்
மேடம் கொடுத்துடலாம்
ஸ்லைட் செஞ்சு கையில கொடுத்துரு சரியா அவ்வளவுதான்
ஹேண்ட் மைக்
இப்ப நான் ஆனு
ஓகே
ஹேண்ட் மைக் ரெடியா இருக்கு மேலே
சரி
எங்க வேணா சரி ஓகே ரைட் அப்புறம் ஃபைனலா சொல்லுங்க சொல்லிட்டீங்களா சார் ஓகே ஆமா கரெக்ட் ஆமா இல்ல பசங்களும் சரி Something online, you're already this is for the CIRC. Yeah, can you just WhatsApp the link to me? Sure, I'll call you once before that. Just call me. This is at what time? Till 3:30. Yeah, so can you just call me at 2:40 if you don't mind? Okay.
There are multiple programs, Manisha.
Sharda.
Yes, ma'am.
And see the WhatsApp messages also.
Sangeeta.
Call me at 2:50, I'll get a line.
Sharda is chartered accountant, senior chartered accountant. She's going to
I'm not voting now.
Oh,
Yes, the module information change from my now, ma'am. Ready பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கேன்.
I was just admiring hello. So அழகா she's so organized here. Like women Sangeeta picha costume. She always she come to dinner and she should teach. My son is not on there, so I'm like, what is it? He comes in the I'm like already missing it so much.
Your presentation. Yes, ma'am. There's a change in screen.
Only on slide மட்டும் move பண்ணா. I just realized that. Amita, I'm going to bomb. Can I have a water bottle?
Yes, ma'am. I'll get you on 2 minutes. ma'am.
You could stay with me actually. Oh, that's good.
Oh,
Okay.
What did you think? You know?
Sanksha Sue is like, she's sizzling on all the videos. Hey, next time, when I get chief guest,
No worries. Yeah. This profile pic is also very, very looking glamorous.
You've not seen her on Facebook? Sharda, then you're socially challenged. And all the men will go like.
Hey, hello, that is for yours. She is the Facebook queen. Double account, double actions.
எங்க ஆபீஸ் மேடம் இன்னும் 2 அக்கௌண்ட் அது லூசானா இதுக்கு வர ஓட்டு போ No, Sangeeta, there's a back to it. Somebody says thank you, put another.
Thank you.
ஆமா You need a social media. I think
You should have somebody to
have on that. My LinkedIn is managed by my office. So, madam, madam, professional invitation, but I love the date. Hi, beauty, I'm going to It's a block button. Honestly, I'll send you a message. It's a creepy old dude. I wonder why women are not creepy. I was wondering. I don't find anything but anybody attractive.
He's gone past all that.
No, I haven't. I'm very surprised. I had somebody.
Sorry, Kadaya. Husband don't have the patience. I mean, anybody who pays a shop so much. Interesting characters.
8 months I got it. Very nice. ನಾನು ಯೋಚನೆ ವச்சுக்கலாமா சரி பரவாயில்லை only person to whom we can sorry
You should nicely post in the side.
அதெல்லாம் அந்த return for some we doubt their call yes
So I will pass it.
I know they like this.
செலிப்பா
நீங்க 2 பேரும் தான்.
Okay. Then we'll have a
சின்ன போட்டோ
then we'll introduce Vidya.
I think we should all stand for a prayer. கொஞ்சம் சீக்கிரம் accept.
Yes, ma'am.
So wait, let's do full-fledged groups and once.
Yeah, sure.
அப்படியே Facebook போய் tag பண்ணு.
Online real time commit.
ஆதிஷ் அண்ணா டக்கு டக்குன்னு பண்ணிடுவாரு. நான் 12 மணிக்கு இன்ஸ்டாகிராம் how to cook dinner ன்னு போடு. Put your jaw down.
Yeah, Megha. So. Choice. Megha, can you remove your mask and show your smiling face to our students and members? And followed by Megha, we would request T.S. Padmashini and Meenakshi to be honored by our dignitaries. Request our Dean Vijay Lakshmi ma'am to join the dais. T.S. Padmashini and Meenakshi on the dais. I would request CA Geeta madam to join the dais. Anna. Back. Pooja from Foundation is available here. Yeah. So. From Foundation. So without taking much time, I would request CA Rekha Umashiv ma'am to introduce our next speaker, CA Sri Priya Kumar ma'am, Chairperson, Women Empowerment Committee of ICI.
A very good morning to all the lovely ladies who are assembled here. So before I introduce our next speaker, Sri Priya Kumar ma'am, I wish everyone a very, very happy International Women's Day. So first, I'm very delighted and indeed a very honorable time for me to introduce the speaker. So as most of you would be aware, I don't think this lady needs an introduction. She is a tigress of herself. Our Central Council member, Sri Priya ma'am. She is a current Central Council member and also the chairman of the Women Empowerment Committee. She also has been very passionate about the information technology in the training initiative and has helped us launch the ICI learning management system for the emerging insolvency profession in India, which is a record of 8,000 plus users and over 1,40,000 tests taken to date. She has served in the board of companies of reputed groups such as Repco and Indian Bank, and presently is a director of the Accounting Research Foundation and XBRL. And she administers the first of its kind knowledge sharing session. The initiative is Smart CA, which is very, very famous. So I actually, as the ma'am has already told me to cut the introduction to 2 lines, so I'm not elaborating on her. Welcome, Sri Priya ma'am, for the session.
Here's a very hearty good afternoon to all of you, and I'd request the organizers to give Rekha about 5 minutes to speak. Her story is also very, very inspiring. She's finished her CA 3-4 years back, and she's part of the regional council. So it's very simple. If you want something, then the universe conspires to make it happen. So here's a very, very hearty good morning to all of you. So I had a very simple choice of what topic to present. And then I said, okay, we could talk about corporate laws, we could talk about women empowerment. Instead, I've often heard Mr. Gurumurthy, a very renowned chartered accountant, say, we need to transform ourselves from being intelligent chartered accountants to intellectual chartered accountants. So this is a very tiny step in that direction. I've actually collated a couple of insights that I thought will be interesting for this audience here today, because it's just a chill program and we're here to celebrate a Women's Day. But I thought, why not just walk you through something that's very, very relevant for all of us in this profession here today. And this is what I'm going to talk about: audit perception and the changing paradigm. So what have been the predominant themes of 2022? We've had NSE. You open the paper every morning, there is something about the NSE scam, COVID-19, we have frauds, we have corporate failures, we've had a new regulatory authority, the National Financial Reporting Authority, we've got CARO, we've got the new audit rules, we've got extensive digitization. Now, corporates digitizing is one thing, but regulators digitizing is another. It's a huge thing. You have an GST portal now, you have an IT portal, you are going to have an MCA portal, and soon all of them are going to be talking to each other. So I think the landscape that we're witnessing in the last 5 years has been hugely transformational. And I'm told what takes a country like the US maybe 5-6 years to absorb technology. The adoption and absorption has been much, much faster in India, especially things like your IT and GST filings. And I think if there's one profession that can take singular credit for enabling that absorption, I think it's the CA fraternity. Because without us, I don't know how much the country would have been able to absorb this phase of change. So we spoke about NSE. Now I'm going to take about 5 minutes. How many of you have been tracking this NSE issue? Anybody who's been tracking it? Okay, so if it's very small, then I'd love to go through it. So what's this NSE crisis all about? It's about precisely 5 things. It's about, and in all these 5 things, there is one thing that stands out. It's a management override of controls. What was the first issue that happened? A certain gentleman got appointed as an advisor from an erstwhile employer who was paying him 15 lakhs to a crore plus salary, which went up to 4 crores. So, and he was not, while he was actually virtually running as the COO, he was not identified as a KMP. Why? The question remains unanswered. The second issue was sharing of data. To somebody who's a Himalayan yogi who has no physical coordinates but would manifest himself at will. There's a order of SEBI that you must read on this issue. That was the response of the managing director, the lady who was at the helm of affairs. She says he didn't need physical coordinates and he would manifest at will. And it was from an ID that was called rigyajur.sama@outlook.com. Now, what was the third track? The third track, you must read a book called Market Mafia. I read it in one day. It was unstoppable. It was by somebody, a journalist called Palak Shah. I'm not sure about the name. I think it's yeah. So the third thing that happened was something called as the co-location scam, where certain brokers had preferential access to NSE's servers. This whole thing is algorithmic trading. So previously the broker had to enter, he will data enter, the whole thing gets, here it's algorithmic and it's called a tick by tick. So this preferential access to servers gave a set of brokers a huge advantage because whoever got into the server first would get that. And the book actually says from seconds they had moved to nanoseconds and picoseconds for making money. So that was the third issue, which was called as the co-location scam. So, and then these were the three broad themes. And then the fourth is a set of researchers, people who were researchers, very eminent researchers who had stock market data. And such researchers were connected to organizations which were in turn connected to brokers. And these organizations were actually getting paid as a percentage of profits. And the whole thing evolved around something called as the algorithmic trading. So you set a set of algorithms, the machine keeps on learning, and then the trading happens. Now, unlike any other scam, what's unique about this? The winners are defined and certain. It's a set of brokers, it's a set of people. But the losers are just too scattered, right? Like let's say all of us in this country paid 1 rupee to somebody. Would I even mind? Will I go and do a legal follow-up? No. So that was actually a market capture by a set of regulatory entities. Now, what was even more stunning is, of course, what was SEBI's role in this? Those things are all in the public domain, and I'm not going to comment on it. But I think one significant change it will bring is a very serious relook by the government at all our institutional frameworks. Whether it's SEBI, whether it's IRDA, whether it's ICI, every single regulator in the company will want to relook at their processes ab initio. And today we're talking of people who receive tens of crores of salaries and compensation. That was the NSE issue all about. ILF, of course, it was a plethora of companies where monies were transferred, received. Again, in ILFS, there was one issue was the promoter was very known to play with a heavy hand, very high-scale operations and diversion of funds, etc., and it's all unraveling now. In Dewan Housing, they created spurious bank accounts. See, all of us as auditors say, oh, can things like that even happen? You know, when I think it was one of the shoe manufacturers where somebody had created a dummy warehouse and they were selling into that warehouse. So they were booking sales. Today somebody creates a dummy branch and books loans in that branch. So all these things, how can you create a dummy warehouse unless there's a management override of control? That's become the biggest challenge today. So even in our audit, see, all the people who handle fixed assets, accounts, cash, bank, BRS will do it all fine. There will be one final adjustment entry somewhere, a journal voucher that gets passed. And that's your management override of control. Your stock verification adjustments are not roped in. Suddenly there is an unbilled revenue written off, estimates, etc. So I think three things are an outcome of all these. One is a relook at institutional frameworks, and I think that's certain to happen. 2, corporate governance. I think the world over, people are just trying to figure out how I'm going to manage this huge thing called corporate governance. Well, what is corporate governance? It simply recognizes there is a dichotomy in a joint stock company between a shareholder who's actually put in the money and a director who's running it. So corporate governance is all the set of policies, frameworks, etc., to appreciate that you're a fiduciary for somebody's money. And in that context of corporate governance, you have audit, you have independent directors, you have the role of the board. Your entire company's act speaks about accountability, corporate trusteeship, and transparency, which are pretty much the fundamental principles of corporate governance. And audit is one mechanism that seeks to enhance corporate governance. Now, given all this landscape, now if I went back 2 slides earlier, you will also, and before talking about audit perception, I think it's also very important to appreciate the Indian context on audit today. We have one body called the NAFRA, the National Financial Reporting Authority, which is kind of a super regulator. The key issue why NAFRA came, everybody says, oh, ICI. No, it had nothing to do with ICI as a body. Now, it's always stated that it's important for a regulator to be independent. Now, we were the ones who were setting standards, we were the ones who were handling discipline. So they had to create a new body called the NAFRA, which is the National Financial Reporting Authority. And they've published 5 reports to date, reports that you must see, especially the last one on Kudremukh Iron Ore. It sort of also, inspires some amount of thought on how we should better ourselves. Now, with all these changes, the government, of course, but one thing I have to say is, I think it is this government that I'm seeing where you find the problem, they bring about a law to at least attempt to correct it. None of the issues that we are facing today are new issues. Possibly some digitization related issues could be new issues. But we always had a problem in stock reporting. We always had a problem of aging of debtors. We always had a problem of aging of payables. We always had a problem of companies diverting funds to other companies. We always had a problem in share capital. I mean, investments not impaired. But if you look at the new CARO and the new Schedule 3, it's transformational. Especially the new CARO. Previously, somebody would say, if as an auditor I was challenging something, they'd say, but why are you even talking about it? You're supposed to confine yourself to true and fair. And who's asking you to write about it? But today, CARO opens out the whole thing in the form of extremely transparent questions that you are bound to answer as an auditor. Now, can I comment in CARO on something which is not in my fundamental financial statement, which is Schedule 3? No. So the Schedule 3 has also got amended. So these alignments have fallen in line. Look at small things. Today when we talk about internal controls over financial reporting, it was a tick box. We said, yes, internal financial controls are there. But today is when you have a very specific question in your accounts rules. They say, is the entity having an accounting system with audit trails which are unalterable and which cannot be deleted? And that's something I really like, because I think today the government is actually going to the root of a problem, however silly it may sound. Now, these are things that you take for granted. So I think there's a huge transformation in terms of revisiting this audit to first principles, which I think is extremely noteworthy. I think we need to go back to BRS. I'll give you a very small example. When I did my articles, I really never understood why we were vouching bank. See the bank statement, see the bank book, keep putting your ticks. Much later in life, when I was starting to do forensic audits, my bank book would say, paid to ABC Industries supplier. When I went to my bank statement, it would say paid to promoter's wife. A lot of things that we do, or we were asked to do, or our famous Kamal Gupta wanted us to do, I think much later in life, when you go through it, you appreciate the importance. And that's exactly what is diversion. I book it to somebody else, but I've paid somebody else. Small things like this, which acquire a lot of significance. So, consequent to which, I think today, one of the biggest challenges we are facing as a fraternity, vis-a-vis everybody, whether it's the leaders or the general public or depositor, is an issue of audit perception. And I think it's very scary. And in some sense, if I'm able to inspire some thought on this, you might be able to A, function more effectively as an auditor because you know where it's coming to. And two, I think if you can make some contribution, if any of you are going to be writing articles, etc., it's a good start point. So I actually picked this from the internet. So there's something called as an audit expectation gap. It's comprised of 3 gaps: knowledge gap, performance gap, and evolution gap. What is knowledge gap? What the public thinks the auditor is doing. What actually auditors do. So he thinks I'm the be all and end all. I would have, if I put my sign and seal to it, it's all perfect. But what am I doing? I'm doing true and fair. The next is performance gap. Now I have a set of accounting and auditing standards that I'm supposed to comply with. So what's true and fair? It's only 2 things. A, you have prepared your financial statements in accordance with the applicable accounting framework. And 2, such financial statements are free from material misstatements. That's all is true and fair. Now, that is what I'm supposed to do. But what I actually do is your audit gap. There's a risk. I've not covered it properly. That's an audit failure. The last is the evolution gap. What I'm supposed to do is true and fair. And from there, what the public wants the auditors to do is actually the moon. See, audit is one element of the governance framework. You're expected to be, as an auditor, at the cutting edge of trust and integrity. Your certification of a financial statement is from a very specific, limited perspective, which we set ourselves out in 1949 and constantly modified. It's not that it is free from fraud. And there are several decisions, but today, I think that perception is completely changing. But today, I don't know whether we are all obligated by the institute to discover frauds, but you can no longer say, look, it is not in my scope. So today, whatever you do as an internal auditor or a statutory auditor, you have to go that one extra bit. Interestingly, even SEBI had recently come out with a change that said any company initiating any audit, any forensic by whatever name called, needs to report to SEBI. When I talk of institutional frameworks, very surprisingly, RBI does not have any such thing. So banks like SBI, for example, I think if your exposure is above 50 crores, you're supposed to conduct a forensic, but what happens to those reports is a super regulator like RBI monitoring those reports. I think those corrections will all start happening. And I think if I were to identify one transformational legislation which has made this happen, I think it's IBC. IBC sort of opened out all these financial statements in a sense that previously what would they do? Oh, it's an NPA, suit file case, we'll just put it back. But today when somebody goes for an IBC recovery, a lot more information and knowledge is gained by a regulator. And I think those are actually getting rolled into the corrections. So what's expectation gap? It's the difference between what the public expects from the auditing profession and what the auditing profession actually provides. Now, what's the present perception? 3 things. Audit is seen as a solution for preventing failure. Definitely not possible. And here I want to clarify. See, we are always about solvency. The balance sheet, true and fair, position, yes. But not so much about liquidity. But if you look at the new Schedule 3 and new CARO, they are asking you to comment on ratios. But today, if you look at new Schedule 3 and new CARO, I think our work has gone up not less than 3 to 4 times. Now, I can see there is a very classic drift from true and fair into providing confidence, if I were to use the term. And I think that's something which I think in India will also catch up progressively, because true and fair seems so easy. The general perception all over the world, vis-a-vis an auditor is, oh, if something goes wrong, they say, okay, true and fair. True and fair is more often seen as a defense today and very unfairly by the other stakeholders. The second is fraud identification and reporting. You're expected to be there. Third, you should prevent company failures. This is where I think there's a large perception movement. Right or wrong, but this is where it stands as of today. And if you look at any failure, there is some small element. But look at it again as a country, we've had credit rating agencies that have failed. We've had every single element, boards, independent directors, even regulators in some cases. But then why is somebody just specifically picking on us? Because I think you're expected to be there. And perhaps it's also, and in my opinion, both the Caro and the Schedule 3 are a very strong reinforcement of faith that somebody has in you. It's only because somebody thinks, okay, at least let the auditor do this. So I think I would be very proud to do the new Caro. And I'm sure it should translate to a higher fee level as well. So what has India's response to all these issues been? Not so much on the perception, but on the failures. There's a new RAFRA, there's a lot of reporting. There's Caro 2020, there's new audit and accounts rules. Another very interesting rule. It says if somebody has given money to somebody, a company has given money to somebody for the benefit of somebody else, those trails are required to be reported. If you've been the funding entity or if you've been the intermediary entity. These are all, I think, very, very nice new changes. Similarly, Caro says, give me all your loans and advance breakup. As simple as that. And what do I see? I see this as a very decisive change from financial reporting to management reporting. Where will you give aging of CWIP? You would have given it in your MIS, monthly MIS. Today, they're saying you please bring it here. Aging of receivables, aging of payables. Somebody has really thought through this. But what would I've been happier is instead of putting all this in Schedule 3, they could have put this as an annual information return to be filed to MCA. That might have been just smarter because then you collect that much more data. There are, of course, heavy punitive actions. And again, in a country, we've seen multiple bankers, very senior bankers getting arrested. And now the NSE, ex-CMD is also. And of course, the corporate governance juggernaut keeps rolling, just keeps rolling, new changes. It accumulates more moss in terms of corrections. And then we're trying to get there. Now, I had mentioned to you that, possible to get a hand mic?
Yes,
Go ahead. Yeah. So, very interestingly, when I started Googling on this to prepare, and that's one of the reasons why I'm very thankful for these sessions, because I think in all this I turn out to be the biggest gainer in terms of learning something. So I was just Googling for it to figure out how elsewhere audit expectation is proposed to be addressed. So I came across a very interesting report. It's called The Quality and Effectiveness of Audit, which was published very recently. See, and you must remember in the context of all these laws and changes, 1-2 years and all is very recent. You know, there are things which are 10, 12 years old also. So 19 is a very, early 20 is a very recent publication. It was by someone called Sir Donald Bryden. And he has come to, this is a UK publication. So UK has something called as the FRC, the Financial Reporting Council, and that's supposed to be substituted by another body called the ARGA. Now, in terms of, just look at how seminal this is in terms of a thought process. I'm sure they'll have their internal challenge on how to do this, but this is where I'm seeing this audit moving. There are about 50-60 recommendations in this. The entire, you just need to read the executive summary because that's all I had the time for. But seems a very interesting report. It suggests that expectation gap is actually a delivery gap and proposes path-breaking measures to enhance audit quality. 2, they have something called as the plain English campaign. They're proposing, all these are proposals. Very simple, concise guides on what audit means and what it does not mean. See, again in India, there has been a bit of a transformation. See, audit reports are usually boiler templates. Copy paste, copy paste. I've seen some places where the auditors may have even forgotten to convert whether it was profit or loss. You know, and such kind of errors do happen. So it's so boilerplate. But now today they said for certain categories of companies, you have to report key audit matters. They're trying to bring in a more descriptive form of reporting. Similarly, our standards, we've written standards at a particular point in time, and a lot of them have undergone revisions. But then they still, I don't know whether they have the quality of being plain English guides. The third, very categorically says the purpose of an audit is to establish and maintain deserved confidence in a company, in its directors and an information for which they have the responsibility to report, including financial statements. So that's what I said. True and fair appears to be a very, very subjective term. So they want to move into confidence, which I think is so all-encompassing, and it's scary. Auditors should be free to include original information, materially useful to a wide range of users in their audit report, and not be confined to commenting on that which has already been stated by directors. So why is this important for us? In India, you have a common minimum standard. See, today, many of us are going to be doing bank audits. You want to write something, please write. You write in the LFAR, you write in the audit report, you write in the emphasis of matter para, but please write. It's not that if somebody gives you a template, you just use the same template. The reason why I'm saying that all this is because what we have is only a common minimum standard. And I feel if there are very pervasive issues, you are bound to disclose. And that's what this says. It says you be free to include whatever you want, but then there'll be no end to it. It becomes very infinite. The ARGA also determines a framework for all corporate auditing, whether of financial statements or other information also. So they're trying to bring in a lot more. That the directors should set out in a public interest statement, part of the strategic report, how they view the company's legal, financial, social, and environmental responsibilities to public interest. Pretty much like our directors report. Now you have your sustainability reporting is happening, a lot of changes in the landscape. The next is very interesting, that the audit report should state the extent to which audit has yielded sufficient evidence of consistency between the public interest statement and the annual report. Things that we loosely say, no, there has to be consistency between the director's report and the audited financial statements and the auditor's report. And that's one of the reasons why the directors provide comments or clarifications. A change in the law to require audit fees to be shown in the face of the P&L account as being struck like the dividend after the reporting of post-incentive compensation profit. So they're saying higher levels of transparency. Interestingly, one thing which I should possibly add in the Indian context is this law, Companies Act 2013, takes restricted services far more seriously than the previous laws. See, today as an auditor, you can't do A, you couldn't have been the internal auditor. You can't be doing accounting, you can't be doing management services. Of course, today I think there's also a huge definition issue that is pending. We have still yet to issue a comprehensive guidance on what is management service. But again, just as a benchmark for you to remember, see, today you have to do work for a client and you're wondering whether I should do it or not because you think there is a conflict. The conflicts only those items which are specified in the code of ethics, which are very finite and small in number, are straight away a no. But today, how do I check whether I have a conflict or not? It's called a conceptual framework. It's been given by somebody called ISBA, which is the International Ethical Standards Board of the IFAC. They say you should not have 5 threats. I'm getting a client for whom I have been requested to be a statutory auditor. These 5 threats are very easy to remember. Self-interest threat. I should not have an interest in the client. I can't be a shareholder. My wife can't be a director. So sometimes they say, no, this is my wife's brother-in-law. I'm saying, chill, if you don't get this work, it's still fine. Next is self-review threat. You should not do any work for a client which you end up reviewing yourself. Again, there's a lot of debate on this big part, whether statutory auditors can do tax services. Self-review is very important. So that's why you don't give a GST opinion and you say, okay, it's still true and fair after that opinion. You have something called advocacy threat. You have something called familiarity threat. Familiarity threat is very effectively now countered by bringing in rotation for large companies. So that familiarity is gone now. Previously, there's a company where the auditors were the same auditors for 35 years. And in another very large listed company in India, they don't even know when the auditor was appointed. Very, very old. Now, I'm not saying this is good or not, but yeah, the law says familiarity is a bad thing. We'll take it as it. And the last one is intimidation. So if you have an intimidation, then you ought to resign. So these are the 5 threats. Again, that's something that's getting slightly more embedded today. A change in law that a standing item be, this is very, very significant. Today, our act only talks about auditor being invited to the AGM. Here they want specific inclusions to be added to AGM agendas questions to the chair of the audit committee and the auditor. It's the obligation to endeavor to detect material fraud in all reasonable ways. And there are some parts. Now, Arga also says every auditor should be qualified for what he's doing. So maybe they're planning to expand the scope of education itself. The training in both forensic accounting and fraud awareness to be part of the formal qualification and continuous learning process to practice. See, we do CPE. Again, in terms of transformation, we do input. We do output. We say every chartered accountant has to do 20 hours CPE. But today, when I was the chairman, we were actually debating whether it should be outcomes based. Do I have to have a little MCQ at the end of it? Am I able to solve a case study? See, but there's always a lot of resistance to learning. Even me, if you ask me to write another exam, I will. But then some things I think, when you're looking at it from a regulatory perspective, is good for the profession. And today, if you come for a CPE program, who's the beneficiary? Not certainly the institute. It's the individual participant who gains, and I think that is something we need to sort of figure out. Any KPIs used for the purpose of calculating executive remuneration should be subject to audit. Interesting. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. Thank you, slide got deleted. But suffice to state in terms of a conclusion, I think this is where we are heading. And I think things will also catch up. For example, the institute has a audit quality review board. We have a peer review board. We have a financial review and reporting board, FRRB. I think there's a lot of people working on audit quality. But who can improve audit quality? It's only the auditor himself who can improve audit quality. With these words, I'd like to conclude. And if you have any questions, we'll be very happy to take. Any questions?
Hi, good morning. Previously, you spoke about independent directors, that we CAs should participate, give exams and enroll ourselves. But one thing I saw was, even if we enroll, we don't have connections with the companies where we can get enrolled as an independent directors, or we can get that opportunity. I've seen a lot of CAs who have cleared their exams, but they still don't have any opportunity where they can, participate in the boards or help. So I think in our committee, as a women empowerment committee, we can have a group where we can,
Sure, we need to brainstorm this.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I told you, right? You no longer you just can't say, okay, I have a data bank.
Yeah.
I think we need to go out. For example, Tamil Nadu government appoints a lot of independent directors. I don't know where they get their source from. But if I can have a small meeting organized where people are selected, it will be good. A lot of this is challenging. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we can make an effort. Even if we are able to get 12 independent directors appointed in the first year, then performance speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And of course, managing risks as an ID is also very, very large. Some of us who are better informed don't take up these things. But yeah. So if there are no other questions, thank you very, very much. We'll stay in touch and invite my very good friend at the next session, the high performance individual in every sense. It's a very informal introduction to Sangeeta, whom I've known for about since 92. Yeah, so 91 actually. So it's like, yeah, it's long.
Yeah, very long.
Yeah, so I've seen her evolve from being in college to articles to employment to being a triathlon athlete, and she's been the CFO of Dun & TransUnion, and then she moved on to launch her own training career. And you must see her on Facebook. She's my inspiration to stay digitally connected, actually. So welcome to Sangeeta.
Have CA Rekha Amartya ma'am's article, which would be read out by CA Sharada ma'am.
outset, I'd like to wish everybody a happy Women's Day. Pleasure reading out your article. I'm a proud female. Yes, you heard it
Why don't
right.
you go there and comment as well?
Okay. Great to see all of you. I'll leave it here. Yeah. I'm a proud female. Yes, you heard it right. I'm in for anything that promotes a woman's self-worth, aids her for being vocal about her choices, creating awareness about self-acceptance, encouraging her to thrive in a competitive world, creating an enabling environment for herself, and most importantly, never losing the self-respect, which should be her trademark. Reading this, you might be wondering, it's all about women empowerment, gender sensitive policies, driving progressive initiatives, measures for tackling systemic challenges, collaboratively, so on and so forth. Why do I have to? When we already have such mesmerizing personas who have proven their mettle and have taken empowerment to the next level. And the interesting fact is, we have such incredible women as one amongst us. Yes, women chartered accountants who just don't limit themselves only to juggling numbers, but also dare to explore their whole new world of choices and passions. We're having a video now.
Yes, ma'am. Now I would request Ekta ma'am to introduce the myself.
Thank you. So the topic for the day is being versatile. Being versatile, is it synonymous with being women or ladies? So the first personality I would
Hi everyone, this is Sridevi Balasubramaniam, also known as Chef Shriba.
So the first person I would like to introduce is Sri Bala. She's a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a law graduate, an artisan chef, a trainer in 5 five-star hotels, a food author, a violinist, and a rower. So actually the list goes on if you are going to tell more about her. She has cherished her passion and pursued her career in the gastronomic field, quitting her full-time job as a chartered accountant. Being a home cook and sailing through the commercial world wasn't something that she could pass off. Because of her spectacular culinary skills and the originality of her dishes, did the wonder. I think one small thing to tell about her is she is credited with introducing the legendary and the celebrated Gordon Ramsay to her own South Indian food heritage. I think that is one thing that none of us had a chance to. So I would like to introduce Sri Bala, Chartered Accountant Sri Bala.
Hi everyone, this is Sridevi Balasubramaniam, also known as Chef Shri Bala. On this Women's Day, I would like to congratulate each and every woman chartered accountant and the budding chartered accountant. The best wishes. Go chase your dreams, whatever be it, whether being it a chartered accountant or any other passion you've got for yourself. Sky is the limit. Never get bogged down by failures. Failures are the stepping stone for your success. And for a woman, failures are never a stoppage. You can go and kiss the sky. All the best to you. Hi everyone, this is Sridevi. Hi everyone, this is Sridevi Balasubramaniam, also known as Chef Shri Bala. On this Women's Day, I would like to congratulate each and every woman chartered accountant and the budding chartered accountant. The best wishes. Go chase your dreams, whatever be it, whether being it a chartered accountant or any other passion you have got for yourself. Sky is the limit. Never get bogged down by failures. Failures are the stepping stone for your success. And for a woman, failures are never a stoppage. You can go and kiss the sky. All the best to you.
So the next person I would like to introduce is Pragya Mohan. She's a chartered accountant, a triathlete, swimmer, and a TED speaker. Sports and CA, does it ring a bell? For me, at least for me, it doesn't. So, however, this is not the case with this 26-year-old Eklavya Award winner who became the first triathlete to represent India in the Triathlon World Cup. Apart from being a national champion multiple times, this Ahmedabad girl also has got gold medals at the South Asian Games and the National Games. Besides, she also has been selected by the World Triathlon for a mentee program. However, this was not a walk in the park for this front runner who encountered 4 major accidents all during the course of cycling. Spirited and venturesome she is.
Hello everyone, I am Priya Pragya, based out of Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Along with being in our profession, I'm also an international triathlete. Triathlon comprises of 3 sports: swimming, cycling, and running, which we do one after the other. The distances that I do is 1.5 kilometers of swimming, followed by 40 kilometers of cycling, and finishing with 10 kilometers of running. I'm the current national and South Asian Women's Triathlon champion, and the only Indian ever at triathlon race. Now I'm preparing for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. Being a woman, I understand the various roles and responsibilities that we play in our individual lives. Which combined with our profession leaves us little time to pursue our passions and hobbies and remain. Having lived through the pandemic, we all understand the importance of health in our lives. We as women are the core center for the healthy lifestyle in our home. So today, I take this opportunity to encourage my fellow colleagues to take up a healthy life, like at least doing a workout for 30 minutes a day. Being a woman, if we are financially independent, we are able to take difficult decisions for our lives. Let's pledge to be able to take charge of our lives and live to the fullest by pursuing our passion and remaining. Happy Women's Day. Thank you for this opportunity and I hope that you become a part of my journey with the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, without taking much time, I would request Ms. Sangeeta ma'am to take this issue. Let's get her, ma'am.
Very good afternoon, everybody. You know, when I'm standing here, it's so nice to see so many colors. Like it's so vibrant it is, you know. So, that's why I say, women, I say, wow. You know what wow means? The wonder of women. We're so wonderfully made, right? I think we are one of the best creation of the divine. So that's the beauty of it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about get high. Okay. Before we discuss the topic, I'd like you all to take a moment's pause and think. How would you feel if you finish a task that you thought you will not be able to complete? How would you feel if you complete your task with great speed, efficiency, and finesse? How would you feel if you keep getting better consistently and in whatever you do? How would you feel? Can I get some responses from you, please? Very nice. And then energetic, great. More motivated. Proud of yourself, exactly. So that is what I say. When you feel so good about whatever you've achieved, that is when you actually get high. You don't have to seek anything external to get high. It's all within you, it's in your hands, and you can get high the way that you want. So, I am, like Sri Priya mentioned, I've been 25 years in the corporate and then about 5 years as a business and leadership coach. And what I have noticed is there's a high performer in everybody. There is a high performer in each of us, and all we need to do is to recognize that, to tap the potential and see how we can scale to greater heights. So today, that's what we are going to be discussing, how to get high in whatever that you're doing, whatever work you may be doing, whichever role that you're playing, how can you get high, higher, and reaching your peak and your potential. So that is what is the session today about. Oops, sorry, I didn't realize this is here. Yes, so basically I'm going to tell you how you can coach yourself for high performance in whatever work that you want to do. So are you ready? I love interaction, I love the energy, and let's rock today. Okay. So what are we going to be looking at today? So like I mentioned, what I've noticed is many people want to get to a certain level, they want to be high performers, but then they have some challenges that come in their way. So let's talk about some of the common challenges and how you can overcome these challenges, right? So we're going to talk about challenges, the keys to overcome these challenges, and I'm also going to share a framework for high performance. So that is going to be the essence of my talk for the day. Any guesses? Have any of you by any chance seen this person? Do you know who he is? Any guesses? Okay, I'll tell you. This gentleman, he was born a day before me, actually, so he's about 47. He was born in 1974 in the slums of Manila in Philippines. Struck by poverty, no food to eat. He had to clean garbage. He sometimes had to go begging because he actually had to support his family as well. The family was in very bad shape. He had to clean streets, do all sorts of odd jobs. He wanted to study, but of course, the family couldn't afford it. He was going through a tough childhood. As he entered his teens, luckily for him, one of his neighbors was shooting a TV serial. And he invited this boy to play a small role in it. And you know what he had to do? All he had to do was go and press the calling bell. And this boy readily agreed for it because he was not only paid money, but he was given food, he could be in an air-conditioned room. So he went for it. One thing led to the other. From the TV serial, he moved on to the films. He became a hit there, he didn't stop there. He entered politics. He was one of the youngest mayors of Manila. And in 2019, he was a councillor, and in 2019, he became one of the mayors of Manila. 2019, I happened to visit Manila, and everybody there, they were so gung-ho about him because he even used to go to the streets. He used to clean despite being the mayor. He always considered himself as part of the crowd. He could relate to everybody. He was very approachable, and people loved him there. Now, why am I telling you this story? Simply because look at his transition from the slums to the TV, to the movies, to politics, and he aims to scale to greater heights to serve his country better. That is a true example of high performance. How you transition, you get over your challenges, and you achieve what you want to achieve. Because achieving is the key for high performance, simply because you feel good about it, whatever you want to achieve, right? So that is what is high performance about.
What's his name?
Sorry, yeah, his name is Isco Moreno. Isco Moreno, you can look him up. So why high performance? You know, we're speaking about high performance, but why high performance? Anybody? Why is high performance even important? To motivate yourself, good.
Self-satisfaction.
Self-satisfaction, excellent.
Self-confidence.
Self-confidence, beautiful.
Stand out.
To stand out, yes. To sustain yourself, okay, it's beyond sustaining actually, okay. Right. So tell me here, amongst all of you, how many of you want high performance? Yes, great. How many of you want to be in organizations that are high performing organizations? Yes. And how many of you would like to build high performance teams? It's almost everybody. You know, I have been giving so many talks on high performance, and till date, I have never seen anybody who says, I don't want high performance, because everybody wants to scale, grow, and give their best in whatever they're doing. And that's what makes high performance something important. We're talking so much about high performance, but what is high performance? What do you think is high performance? Anybody?
Being most efficient at performance.
Efficiency in performance, great. Extraordinary, okay.
Becoming a better version of ourselves.
Absolutely, becoming a better version of yourself. So if you were to define it, achieving superior results by performing at a high standard as per targets that you are setting yourself. So you may be performing at a certain level, and if you want to get to a better version of yourself, right? That's what high performance is all about. So basically it's you versus you. How are you getting better at what you do? That is what is high performance. You know what I say? If you, YOU were an acronym, what does that look like? You are outstanding and you are unique, because you are capable. You can achieve what you want to, and all you need to do is to put your mind towards it and work for it. And then you will see yourself rise and scale and grow however you want. Because always remember this, each of us have unique skills. Each of us bring different things to the table. So if you can identify yourself with that, your uniqueness, then you are outstanding. So I have a little song for you. It goes like this. You know you can get high. Your performance can touch the sky. When you work on it every night and day, get your wings and get high. You know you can get high. So all you need to do is work on your beliefs. Work on the goals that you set for yourself. And you can just, when you're focused about it, right, focusing on what you want to do, whatever matters to you, you can keep growing and scaling. So I told you, let's talk about some of the keys for high performance. What are those important things that help you for high performance, right? So I'm going to give you the common challenges. Now, like I work with corporate leaders and teams, and I have noticed some of the common challenges that have been there. So I'm going to pick these common challenges, and I'm also going to give you the keys, how you can overcome these challenges. First, the common thing is lack of focus. Let me give you this incident that happened to me. I had written an article I'm part of also the International Coaching Foundation, and I had written an article which was published even by the International Coaching Federation in the US. A lot of my friends and other fellow coaches appreciated me for the article. The article was called Break Free from the Coaching Myths.
Now, in this article, I differentiated the role of a mentor and the role of a coach, and how each thing is different. I published this article on LinkedIn. And of course, there were people who appreciated, but then there was this one comment by one person. He said, this article does not talk about the role a mentor plays. And he didn't have anything nice to say in his comment. So I was a little taken aback because I thought, like, when everybody else is praising, why is this person saying this?
The hand mic.
Can you no?
Okay, we'll go this.
Hello, this is yeah. So I was a little offended and I was wondering why. So then I realized my focus, my intention of writing this article was to focus upon coaching. It was not about mentoring. And that was an aha moment for me, because that's when I realized what was my purpose of writing this article, right? And especially for women, I have noticed this. We get so carried away by what people say. It could be, of course, something positive. Definitely we feel good. But if there's somebody picking on us, then, we tend to react and not respond. So I took a moment's pause and then I just asked myself, what was the purpose of writing this? And that's when I realized I'm highlighting about coaching. I'm not here to talk about mentoring. And therefore, I replied to the person that my purpose of writing this article was to talk about coaching and not about mentoring. So that's when the focus, what are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing, right? Now, like Simon Sinek says, start with why. Know your why. And that is why I say, to overcome this common challenge of lack of focus, what you need to do is to be purposeful. Be purpose-driven. Know why you're doing what you're doing. In fact, a client of mine, a large organization, the company did not have a purpose statement. Now, unless you have a purpose, which direction are you going to be heading? You're going to be like a headless chicken. So it's essential to have a clear purpose and know why you're doing what you're doing. And that is important. So the first thing is being purposeful in what you do. The second common challenge, I'm so busy. I don't have the time for this, right? This is something very common, right? All of us keep using this, right? So let me again share an interesting story. It's about a client of mine. After being in the corporate world for a long time, he decided he was bit by the entrepreneur bug and he started his own business. So we were having a coaching conversation that day, and what he wanted to discuss with me was to see how he can grow his revenue. So while he wanted to do this, he was also very excited that day, and he shared with me saying, he's not from a tech background. So he said, I'm very excited. I want to share with you that I managed to build my own website. Okay. So he said, I have put in so much of effort. I didn't want to outsource it. I didn't want to spend more money there. And therefore, I learned how to do it. I did it by myself. How do you think it has come out? And he was very excited. So he had done a good job of it also. So I wished him. So then when we started speaking about how he wants to grow his revenue, the challenge that he had, he said, was, what you see. He said, I know they have a lot of potential clients. I know they're all ready to buy my product. But I don't have the time to go and meet them and talk to them about my business and my offerings. So as a coach, I realized this was something that was clashing. One side, he says, I don't have time. Another side, he has spent so much of time and effort in building his website. So I asked him, I said, supposing if you had spent, whatever time that you took to build your website, If you had gone and met your clients, how much more revenue would you have gained? And that was an eye-opening moment for him. Because he said what he actually saved in doing the website was pittance. Whereas had he got some business, then he would have got lots more money. So while it's always good to control the costs, the important thing is to weigh the benefits, weigh your pros and cons. Don't just blindly go and cut costs for the sake of cutting it. What are you foregoing? You know, what are you going to gain by incurring a particular cost is something that you need to ask yourself. So how does one overcome that? Delegate. Delegate to work, wherever, whatever possible. Even at home, I say, you know, women, we need to partner with our family and partner with our colleagues at work, because that's when it makes our life easier. So delegate, outsource whatever you can. Of course, there are certain things that only you can do, but have that wisdom and think on those lines. The third common challenge, you know, the comfort zone. All of us love to be within our comfort zone, but the magic happens outside your comfort zone. So let me share my story here. I'm an author of 4 books, and believe me, I never had intentions of writing a book. I had never even thought of it. In 2015, I happened to be on a family vacation to Cambodia. Do you know where Cambodia is? Any guesses?
Vietnam.
Near Vietnam. It's in the Far East after Singapore and all that. So I had been on a vacation to Cambodia in 2015 with my family, and we happened to visit the capital of Cambodia, which is Phnom Penh. In Phnom Penh, there is a place called Killing Fields. From 1970 to 74, there was a mass genocide there. Even now, when you go and walk in the killing fields, you'll find pieces of bones, nails. There's a huge tower that's constructed. It has the skulls of people based on their age, gender, and how they were killed. Absolutely gruesome. It was just terrible. There was a school playground where people were butchered mercilessly. There were these gory pictures all over. It just does something to you. When I was leaving there, you know, this was so hard impression on me. When I was leaving there, I just asked myself, you know, what happens if man is so cruel with innocent people? And you know, the Cambodians, even now, they are like very nice people, lovely people. So you can imagine how they have been in the 70s. So I said, what happens? That I was left with that thought. And unknowingly, I had weaved a story in my head. A little voice in my mind said, you know, why don't you write about this? And I said, oh, I'm not an author. I don't know how to write. Nobody's going to accept me as an author. And, you know, all these negative thoughts. So I brushed aside that thing. But this story kept coming back to me time and again. And luckily for me, in 2016, end of 2016, I happened to chance a 100-day book authoring challenge. And we know how, you know, we get excited with these deadlines and challenges. So I took up that challenge. And in March 2017, Tai Chennai launched the book. And it was a spiritual thriller, the book. So I still had a lot of butterflies because the book starts off with a lot of violence, you know, the thought arising from Cambodia. So I was very skeptical. I didn't know how people would react to it. And I had a lot of butterflies in my stomach. But thankfully, the book did well. And I was awarded as one of the 100 inspiring authors of India. So when I started telling people I have written this book, everybody assumed it to be a finance book. So like where is the finance book? You have to write a finance book. You are a chartered accountant, CFO with so many years of experience. We need a finance book. So therefore, when many people told me that, I went ahead and wrote my second book, which is called What's the Finance, which went on to becoming a bestseller. And then, of course, so the reason I'm saying this is, you know, went on to the other books as well. The reason I'm saying this is, how do you overcome this challenge? Blissfully. Because if you're in bliss and enjoy what you do, and you make that as a habit and get yourself disciplined out of it, then you will be able to step out of your comfort zone. So that is something you need to consciously work on. Take steps towards it and see how you can try out different things, because otherwise, you're just going to be in that cocoon. I think the common thing is like, what will others say? How will it be perceived? Like even I went through that. But if you're able to conquer those fears and those demons inside us and make it as a bliss, then we will be able to move further. So yeah, like I said, that was my first book. This is the second book. The third book is Get High, which is what I'm talking to you about. And my latest book is Where's the Moolah? Moolah means money. So that is about financial growth hacks for business profitability. And yes, these are available on Amazon. And I also have an audio book. It's a free download. It's called The Power of High Performance Coaching. So like I said, one thing led to the other. So now am I afraid to write a book? No. So you see, that's how you slowly step out of your comfort zone in whichever area of your choice, so that you can keep growing your comfort zone. So yes, the fourth common challenge. Many of us, we like to do so many things. But the important thing is what you're doing. Is it worthful or is it worthless? This is something you need to ask yourself, right? So what you're doing, is it worthful or not, is something that you would know. Let me share another story here with you. There was a king. The king had gone hunting. He had gone with his mini army inside the forest, but unfortunately somehow he got lost and he lost his way. He wanted to come out of the forest and he didn't know the way. After roaming around for a long time, luckily he saw somebody, one man who was a local person, and he told the king, yeah, I can guide you and I can take you out of this forest. So the king was very happy. And this man did what he promised to the king. So the king was very thrilled and asked him, what do you do? So the man said, oh, I've been trying to get a job, but, I don't find anything good. Nobody's ready to give me a good job and all those things. So king felt sorry for him. And he was also thankful to this man. So he said, tomorrow, before a certain time, before 5 p.m., come to my palace. I want to give you a pot of gold. And after that, I'm going for some battle. So you can come tomorrow anytime before 5 p.m. and collect your pot of gold. This man was mighty thrilled. Goes to his house, tells his wife, tomorrow I'm going to get this pot of gold. I'm so happy the king has invited me to his palace. And you all used to say that, I'm fit for nothing. See, now I'm going to be such a rich man. I'm going to be... sorry. So I'm going to be a rich man. So he's very excited. Next day morning, he wakes up late because he's still in that euphoria. Then his wife says, when are you going to go? He says, today they have to celebrate. Why didn't you make my favorite meal? So he makes her to do that. He's still celebrating in a joyous mood, and then he has his breakfast, and then he tells, no, I'll go after lunch. So make a nice lunch for me. He does that. He wants to take a small nap. Then his wife finally pushes him out, saying, no, go and meet the king, get the pot of gold. So the man is about to leave. Then he goes around telling all his neighbors, I'm going to the palace. I'm going to get this pot of gold. King has invited me. So everybody is happy for him. Everybody wants to celebrate with him. And finally, after doing all this, by the time he reaches the palace, it was beyond 5 and the king had left already. And of course, he missed his pot of gold. So sometimes we don't know which is worthful and which is worthless. How are we actually propelling ahead towards our goals, our objectives, what we want to achieve, right? So that's why I say, know your priorities. Prioritize right, because unless you know what is important. And unless you prioritize what is important for you, the other things will definitely take away your time and space and energy. So prioritize right. So like I said, I'm going to share this framework for high performance because I know these challenges are there. The keys are there, but it's probably easier said than done. How do we actually go about achieving what we want to? So this framework, you can apply it in your personal life, professional life, in your business, whatever that you do. I'm an acronym person. I love sharing acronyms because the recall value is easy. So let's see what this acronym is going to be. So when you do things that you love, something that you enjoy, then you're automatically wanting to do more or do better at what you do, right? If you're a person, for instance, if you don't like cooking and you're asked to cook, that's not something that's going to excite you. So, but if it is something else, probably doing an audit or a forensic audit, whatever, if that's something that excites you, you're going to feel good and you want to do more of it, right? So identify what is it that you love to do. I is for inspiration. Look around. There is inspiration all around you. So many women in this room. It could be in your neighborhood, in your office. It can be your mother, whoever. Get inspired seeing other people in whichever choice of work that you want to. So look around for inspiration. F is to be focused. Focusing on what you do. The mind chatter. The mind is always telling stories, excuses, and different things. But if you can put those things aside and focus on what is important for you, then you will be able to get better at what you do. And E is, of course, excellence, right? Excelling in what you do, because like I said, there's no point in comparing yourself with others, but compare yourself with you. You remember, it's you versus you, right? So when you can do that, then you start excelling in what you do. So the acronym that you need to remember is LIFE. Love, inspired, focused, and excellent. So when you can follow these 4 steps, then it helps you to be on the path of high performance. So that's how you can actually be coaching yourself for high performance. Now in coaching, I'd like to tell you, you can be your own coach where you're the internal coach, and you can also work with an external coach. Let me tell you the pros and cons of both. When you coach yourself, you're learning by your own self. You know how to manage yourself, and you're also independent. You're not dependent on anybody. So you can do by your own self. On the flip side, when you coach yourself, you don't get different perspectives. There's nobody to hold a mirror for you to see how you're actually going about doing what you do. There's nobody to kindle your thoughts, and it could be slightly longer compared to working with somebody else. So if you're working with an external coach, what is the flip side to it? Of course, there's a cost involved. You need to have the right chemistry with a coach, because only if the two people can understand and work with each other, then it becomes successful. And the third thing is you need to work with a credentialed coach, because many people call themselves a coach, but unless you're credentialed, it makes the difference. So what is the positive side of working with a coach is you have an accountability partner, somebody who's there to show you your blind spots, somebody who can be your sounding board, and somebody who can challenge you. So whichever way you choose, the important thing is to see you are in the path of high performance and see how you can get better at what you do and keep growing, keep scaling, and being consistent is very important for high performance. So the 4 important keys that we discussed is to be purposeful, to delegate or outsource, be in the zone of a discipline, and to prioritize right. Now, these are some of the 4 keys that we discussed. And let me, as a parting thing, the session is called Get High. So let me tell you how you can actually get high. This is like a cheat sheet, how you can get high. It's an acronym again. H, remember, is something that makes you happy, right? Whatever makes you happy, go ahead and indulge yourself into that. I is something that you're interested in, because if you're interested in it, obviously, you want to do more of it and your mind doesn't tell you any more excuses. G is when you feel gainful. The gains can be financial or non-financial, as long as it makes you feel good and you're getting something out of it, some sort of a benefit, it's good. And H is when you feel heroic, like, you feel so good about whatever you achieve, then that's how you actually get high. So we discussed these 4 keys. This is the book that I mentioned about. It's called Get High. It's an activity-based book. It has many other keys, stories, and it tells you, it's been endorsed by some of the New York Times bestsellers and a lot of senior industry leaders as well. So if you would like more of high performance, go ahead. This is there's no gyan or anything. It's just total activity-based. So you can measure yourself and basically coach yourself to see what challenges you have and how you can actually overcome them, because high performance, end of the day, is exceeding your own expectations. And remember, I say HP for HP. Any guesses? High profits and high performance, they go hand in hand, because high performance leads to high profits. So I would like you all to think and reflect to see what is it that you learned, what is it that you like to implement in whatever that you're doing, so that you can beat yourself and the next version of you is something that's better than what you are now. And keep growing and keep scaling. I would love to connect with all of you. These are my social media handles. That's my LinkedIn. You can find me as the Gain Enabler in any of these social media handles. So feel free to connect with me, and happy to share my thoughts on whatever you want. And I keep posting videos and other things regularly on high performance and other things. So feel free to connect with me. And yes, now I'm open for any question answers, or I'd love to hear from some of you on what stood out for you in the talk. What is it that you're walking away with? Any comments, anything? I'm happy to hear from any of you. Any thoughts? What were your key learnings? What are you planning to implement? Anybody? Or any questions you want to ask? I'm open for that too. This, yes. Okay, the question is, would multitasking affect high performance? Now,
I feel most of the time women are good at multitasking. Do you think that is posing an issue in a focused deep performance?
Absolutely. So there are 2 schools of thought for this. One is, during most of the bygone years, people used to say, women, they are good at multitasking and it's very good and so on and so forth. But now there's another school of thought that says multitasking may not be the best thing. Because when you're doing one task, your focus is in that. And if you have to do another thing, your focus and time, attention, energy, everything is shifting. And therefore, there is another school of thought that says multitasking is not the best. So what would I recommend to you is, this is something very individual, very personal. So if you're a multitasker and it's been working well for you, go ahead and do it. But if you think that's not the best, then, it's better to go task by task. So that I would leave the choice to you. Good question. Anybody else? Anything else? Yes.
In course of this, you would undergo stress. So how do you think that we should manage that in order to achieve it?
Lovely question. So she says, we have a lot of stress in whatever that we're doing. How do we manage that? So you need to de-stress. And how you de-stress is something that will give you joy, right? It can be something as shopping. It can be cooking, stitching, tailoring, whatever. Like how I de-stress is, I'm into Art of Living, which is basically the breathing exercises, right? yoga and meditation, that helps for me. So whatever helps for you, you need to do that. The important thing is to de-stress. See whatever works for you, whichever, you're able to deviate your mind from whatever is causing the stress, that works. So each person, it will vary, but important to de-stress. Thanks for bringing that out. Yes.
Share your journey of how you made this transformation from CFO to
CFO to coach. Okay, great. So, like I said, I've been about 25 years in the corporate. So I think when I completed about 20 years, I was already the CFO then. And I used to be identified as the CFO. And I used to be synonymous with my organization, which was good. It did feel good. But after a point in time, I felt, what is my identity? Am I just a CFO? Am I just going to be associated with a particular organization? Can I be something beyond? That was something at a personal level. And at a professional level, I felt when I'm able to contribute to the success of one organization, is there a way I can scale it up and contribute and impact more organizations, more leaders? Is there something that I can do? So I had this question. And that's when I chanced upon coaching also. I didn't know what coaching was or who a coach is. Then when I found out it was interesting. So even then I had a bit of a dilemma, so I wanted to quit my job, but I wasn't sure. I was procrastinating. I said, I will do it one day, but it wasn't happening. And then I wanted to test the waters to see how it is to work with corporate leaders, because I focus both on the business and on leadership as well. So finally, I mustered the courage and then, went ahead and took the plunge. It was very difficult because you're so used to the corporate and, it's a very different lifestyle. But yes, I worked on it again, mental level, and then finally took the plunge, and here I am. And yes, I'm very happy that I was able to do that, because I'm on a mission to enable, empower, and elevate businesses. So I focus working with corporate leaders to see how they can, bring out their best, bring out their high performance, and maximize their potential. So it's more very personally fulfilling. So I think that is what is important. I think after a point in time, what is important to you is what matters. So once you can discover, like I spoke about purpose. So I felt this is more my purpose rather than just being confined to the corporate. That is what it is. Anything else? If not, I'm done. Thank you so much. You were an amazing audience. Monica, sorry, there's one other little thing. I have a free ebook. It's called Shakti, High Performance Women Leaders. So if any of you would like to read it, you can email me at support, support @sss.coach. SSS is my name, abbreviation. So feel free to reach out and I can email you the book. It is a comparison of women from history and women in the corporate world on each aspect of high performance. So if you would like it, it's a short, quick read. Thank you.
Information on getting high. And I now request CA Rekha Amasya ma'am to honor our speaker with a memento. Next, we will have a technical or game session with Sharada ma'am. Sharada and Sharada ma'am.
All of you have read Burdens? Yeah, so this is based on that. A lot of effort has gone into it by both the Shardas.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am will have another more two inspirational videos when coming up. Yes, ma'am.
So the next, I would like to introduce another women achiever. She's a chartered accountant, a farmer, and a founder of Buffalo Bank. For those who step onto a horticulture shop only to get some organic produce, this might be very baffling because this CA turned agriculturalist nailed it when she was certain to align her work with a passion, thereby leaving her corporate job and bank tools to pursue the organic farming. Now, often farming and profitability isn't much a happening thing for many at large, except that it services a basic food requirement. However, this corporate alumnus was determined to turn the tables through her model Buffalo Back, which works with the farmers on a self-help format, creating awareness about sustainability and waste-free environment and ensuring products is safe for consumption. Very, very thoughtful, and undoubtedly she possesses a very green thumb.
Firstly, happy Women's Day to all the women present here and all the women in the world. And thanks to the CA Institute for taking the initiative to celebrate and highlight or spotlight women during this times. I think it's also on the one side it feels good, and also considering that the kind of work that I do at present, where I chose to work with the farmers and promote better ways of farming. It's been a great experience to understand the important role that women play, as not just in the activity of farming, but also in the post-farming process, and also in making sure that nutritious food is available for most consumers. So it's been a great learning experience being where I am today. And I think, and also I think it's being a chartered accountant and having gone through the process of educating myself as a chartered accountant, and the experience that I gained in my profession has been immensely helpful in utilizing, and the skills that I have acquired over the period has been immensely helpful in my work today. And with the kind of women that we see on ground, we also see tremendous amount of disempowerment and marginalization of women, where
So the next person I would like to introduce is Suchata Shukla Rajan. She's a chartered accountant and has practiced in Bangalore. Now, with a deep interest in food, she's also a food chronicler and an author of food blog Pepper on Pizza, as well as a podcast on series on Indian food history. She is also an author of the book Naivedya, a book detailing the Naivedya offerings at some of the India's most popular and ancient temples, along with the glimpses of their mythology, history, and food stories.
Good morning to you all. It is with great pleasure that I address the Lady CAs, members and office bearers of the SARC of ICAI at today's Women's Day program. Thank you, CA Rekha Marshall, for this invitation. I wish I could have participated in person, but I have not yet gathered the courage to travel in these pandemic times from Bangalore. Rekha asked me to say something that would inspire you, my colleagues in the profession. I would like to say first that each and every one of you is an inspiration. You have qualified in a very tough examination and are carrying out this demanding profession of chartered accountancy, many of you balancing it with your domestic and personal responsibilities. There are times when these two clash, the professional and the personal. When I look back on my 38 years of practice, it is not only the presentations to the boards and chairpersons of some of India's most known corporates that I remember, or the hard-fought audit reports and direct tax successes. What comes to the forefront of the mind is a time when my younger daughter was appearing for her 10th board examinations at Chennai, where we then lived. while I was at a client location at Bangalore with an urgent deadline to meet. The client was a very large corporate, and it was a dream come true for a sole proprietary audit firm like mine to have bagged this assignment. My family said that I should stay back and finish the assignment on time, which I did. Though my husband gave my daughter all the support he could, I was not there to make that comforting rasam sadham for her on the morning of each exam, nor was I available to clear last-minute doubts and to give her that strength and confidence she needed from me. That she did very well in her exams has not mitigated my guilt in spite of all the years that have passed and all the successes she has achieved since then. I know you ladies will understand my distress in having chosen my professional responsibility over my maternal one. And I wanted to tell you and tell myself too, it's okay. We women often have to make hard decisions while balancing the profession with family. There is no wrong decision or right one. We have to choose a path that seems right to us. We have to do what we have to do, and then we have to move forward the best way we can. I would like to talk a little about making the best of circumstances. In my case, it was my dream in high school to be a journalist, but instead I landed up doing CA. I'm glad I did. I love this profession and I continue to give it my all. However, in 2015, when my husband became terminally ill and needed my care, I stopped my active professional lifestyle and travel and began working from home. I took the opportunity of having more time on my hands to indulge in my passion for writing and for food. And I started a food blog. In 2019, I got this fantastic opportunity to write a book, not on accountancy or audit or management or all that I have spent nearly 4 decades in, but on food. A book on temple foods of India. I traveled the length and breadth of the country, visiting the sacred sites of various religions and researching about the food offerings or naivedyam to the gods. I was able to utilize the lockdowns and stay-at-homes of the last 2 years due to the pandemic in writing this book. I'm working on another book now on Patya Samya, the traditional postpartum diet of Indian mothers. I will try hard to balance my focus and efforts between the profession and my desire to write. Friends, just follow your passion. Live your lives. Cherish each day as it comes, doing the best you can. The best in your professional career, the best in your personal life, the best for your dreams and ambitions. And tell yourself each day, I matter. My life matters. My dreams matter. Thank you.
Yeah, nice, really nice. I hope you share it with all of us.
Yes.
You email it to us because we were the one, because, you know, at times.
Only the PPT of the only the PPT of the document also. Only the PPT.
Okay, happy Women's Day, everyone.
We'll give the ticker.
Okay. Happy Tuesday, everyone.
So may I request everyone to just get up? Thank you so much. And we'll split some groups. Okay. So people who are wearing pink over this side, red and purple. Don't worry, people who are not wearing pink, red or purple, you can just identify some color in your dress which may